The studio lights rise slowly, not all at once, one by one, like an interrogation room pretending to be television. A red light blinks above camera one. Live asterisk. The audience settles, but the air does not. Asterisk, there's a low murmur. Anticipation. The kind that makes people lean forward without realizing it. Asterisk. Across a glass desk sits Kash Patel. Asterisk. Mid-40s. Perfect posture. Tailored suit. Asterisk. A man who has testified before committees. Silence rooms with a look. Rewritten narratives with a sentence. He smiles easily. This is familiar ground. Opposite him sits Jasmine Reed. No notes in her hands. No visible tension in her shoulders. Just calm eyes and a neutral expression that gives nothing away. Asterisk. The host introduces them. Credentials. Achievements. Polite applause. Kash nods. Gracious. Confident. Jasmine waits. Asterisk. She doesn't rush. She lets the moment breathe. Then she speaks. Not loud. Not sharp. Almost gentle. Greater than. Jasmine asterisk. Mr. Patel, before we talk about policy, there's something about your family history I want to clarify. Kane's smile holds. Barely. The control room stiffens. A producer raises his head. Jasmine continues. Greater than. Jasmine asterisk. Because parts of the public record don't align with the version that's always been presented. Asterisk. The room changes temperature. You can feel it in the audience. A few people shift in their seats. Asterisk. Someone stops breathing. Camera 2 tightens on Kane's face. Micropause. Half a second too long. Greater than Kane light chuckle. I'm not sure what you mean. Asterisk. Jasmine nods, as if she expected that answer. She doesn't argue. She doesn't accuse. She simply looks at him. Greater than. Jasmine asterisk. Then let me ask it more clearly. Silence. The kind that television hates. The kind that makes viewers look up from their phones. Greater than. Jasmine asterisk. Was your family name always Patel? Asterisk. The word lands. No music. No reaction shot. Just Kane. Jaw tightens. Not dramatically. Professionally. Asterisk. The audience senses it. They don't know why yet, but they feel it. Kane inhales. Once. Greater than. Kane. That's an unusual place to start. Asterisk. Jasmine doesn't blink. Jasmine. So was this interview. A beat. The red live light keeps blinking. Asterisk. And somewhere millions of viewers lean closer to their screens, unaware that a story carefully buried for decades has just been invited into the open. Asterisk. Cut to black. Text fades in. What happened next fractured an image built over a lifetime. Asterisk. Asterisk. The screen fades back in. Asterisk. The studio looks the same, but it isn't. Something invisible has shifted. The audience isn't passive anymore. They're alert, measuring every breath. Asterisk. Kash Patel adjusts his cufflinks. A small movement, the kind men make when they want their body to remember control. Jasmine leans back slightly, not retreating. Creating space. Greater than. Jasmine. This matters because you've built your public life on transparency. On law. On truth. Kane nods. Automatically. That word again. Truth. Greater than. Jasmine. Millions look at you and see proof that the system can work. That background doesn't limit destiny. The camera cuts to the audience. A young couple in the front row. An older man gripping his phone. A woman mouthing the words along, as if she already knows where this is going. Greater than. Jasmine. So when parts of your story don't line up, people don't just question the record. She pauses. Greater than. Jasmine asterisk. They question themselves. That lands harder than any accusation. Kane straightens. Greater than. Kane. With respect, my work speaks for itself. A safe line. A practiced one. Jasmine doesn't challenge it. Greater than. Jasmine asterisk. It does. That's why this conversation is happening. Asterisk. In the control room, someone whispers, she's not backing off. Asterisk. On screens across the country, reactions split. Some viewers bristle. Others nod slowly. Asterisk. In a small apartment somewhere, A family watches in silence. Asterisk, they recognize this moment. The moment where success is questioned because of origin. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. You've spoken often about belonging. About earning your place. She turned slightly, addressing the camera now. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. For immigrants watching tonight. Those words aren't theoretical. They're lived. Back to Kane. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. So I want to be clear. This isn't about discrediting you. Asterisk, Kane studies her. Trying to read the angle. Greater than Jasmine. It's about understanding the full journey. Especially the parts that were edited. There it is. Edited. Asterisk, Kane exhales through his nose. Controlled. Measured. Greater than Kane. Every family simplifies its past. A murmur in the audience. Jasmine nods, acknowledging the truth in that. Greater than Jasmine. They do. Usually to survive. Asterisk that word again. Survive. The camera tightens on Kane's eyes. Asterisk for the first time. There's something there that isn't strategy. Memory. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. But when survival turns into silence, silence turns into pressure. Asterisk, she leans forward now. Just enough. Jasmine, and pressure always finds a way out. A long beat. Kane opens his mouth, closes it. The host shifts uncomfortably. He was not prepared for this version of the night. Asterisk. Jasmine glances down for the first time. Not at notes. At a single document. She doesn't reveal it yet. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Before we go further, I want to ask you something simple. The studio is perfectly still. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Did you choose the version of your story the world knows, or was it chosen for you? Asterisk, Kane freezes. Not physically. Internally. The red live light keeps blinking. And no one watching misses the fact that this interview is no longer about reputation. Asterisk. It's about identity. Asterisk, asterisk, long before the cameras. Before the titles. Before the carefully framed speeches. There was a different version of Kash Patel. A boy who learned early that names mattered. Asterisk. That accents invited correction. That silence could be armor. His father understood it first. Asterisk. In crowded rooms. He spoke less. Asterisk at work, he laughed at jokes he didn't find funny. At home, he corrected his children gently. Say it this way, he'd tell Kane. Asterisk, people listen longer. Kane learned quickly. In school, he was sharp, observant, always watching how power moved before he tried to touch it. Asterisk, he noticed which students were forgiven, which ones were labeled early, which mistakes followed you forever. Asterisk. So he became precise. Asterisk, he dressed cleaner than everyone else. Spoke clearer. Never gave teachers a reason to doubt him. Asterisk, and slowly, the rough edges disappeared. Asterisk, the family history didn't vanish overnight. It was trimmed. Simplified. A village became a city. A struggle became hard work. A name became easier to pronounce. Not lies. Adjustments. By the time Kane entered professional circles, the version of himself he presented was seamless. Confident, uncomplicated, safe. People responded to that version. Doors open. Mentors leaned in, asterisk, and Kane learned the most. Dangerous lesson of all. That approval could be engineered. With every promotion, the distance grew. Asterisk between who he was and who he had been. He told himself it was necessary. That visibility demanded sacrifice. Asterisk. That private history didn't belong in public leadership, but history doesn't disappear. It waits. Asterisk years later. Kane stood behind podiums, speaking about law, order, belonging. Asterisk. And every time he said the word merit, something inside him tightened, because he knew how much of his own journey had depended on adaptation, on erasure, on choosing which parts of himself were allowed to exist out loud. He wasn't cruel by nature, but he became impatient with vulnerability. He mocked weakness publicly because he had buried his own. Asterisk, he dismissed identity conversations because they reminded him of choices he never fully examined. Asterisk, and when critics questioned him, he didn't argue the facts. He overpowered the moment. Volume, confidence, control. Asterisk. It always worked. Until the studio. Until a woman across from him refused to attack. Asterisk. Refused to flatter. Refused to let him hide behind performance. Kane sits now under lights brighter than any he's known. Not because of fame. Because silence has been removed. Asterisk. Jasmine hasn't exposed anything yet. Asterisk. But she has done something worse. She has slowed him down. Forced him to feel the weight of every decision that led here. Asterisk. The audience doesn't know this history. But they sense it. The tension isn't anger. It's recognition. Kane looks at Jasmine again. Not as an opponent, but as someone who might already know the answer. Asterisk. And somewhere deep inside, a question forms that frightens him more than any headline ever could. Asterisk. What happens if the story I built isn't the whole truth? The document in Jasmine's hand remains unseen. For now. Asterisk. Jasmine Reed did not grow up wanting to be famous. She grew up wanting answers. Asterisk in her house. Questions were encouraged, not loudly, not dramatically. Asterisk at the dinner table. Her mother would ask, "Why do you think that's true?" Her father would listen before responding, always. No one raised their voice. No one won by dominating. Truth, in that house, was something you arrived at together. Asterisk. Jasmine learned early that the hardest questions were often the quietest ones. Asterisk. In school, she wasn't the loudest student. Asterisk. She was the one who noticed inconsistencies. Asterisk. When textbooks skipped chapters, when teachers avoided follow-ups, when authority relied on assumption instead of clarity. Asterisk. She didn't challenge to embarrass. Asterisk. She challenged to understand. That habit followed her into journalism. Early in her career, editors tried to shape her. Asterisk. Be tougher. Asterisk. Be more confrontational. Asterisk. People want fireworks. She tried, briefly. It felt wrong, because fireworks burn fast, and then they disappear. Jasmine preferred pressure. The kind that builds slowly. Asterisk. That exposes. Fractures over time. Asterisk. She covered trials where facts were buried under. Confidence. Asterisk. Interviews where powerful figures spoke. For 10 minutes without saying anything. Asterisk. And she noticed something. Consistent. Asterisk. The people with the most authority feared stillness. Asterisk. They filled space because silence gave others room to think. Asterisk. So Jasmine learned to pause. Asterisk. To let answers echo. Asterisk. To ask follow-ups that didn't accuse but refused to move on. Asterisk. Some called her style gentle. They were wrong. It was precise. Asterisk. There was a moment years before this broadcast that stayed with her. Asterisk. A local official. A routine interview. She asked about funding that never reached the neighborhood. He laughed. Deflected. Crowd applauded him. Asterisk. Afterward, an older woman stopped Jasmine outside the building. She didn't thank her. She said, "You were close, but you let him breathe." That sentence never left her. From that day on, Jasmine stopped releasing pressure prematurely. Asterisk. She learned that truth doesn't need to be chased. It needs to be held. When Kash Patel's name crossed her desk months ago, she didn't see a villain. Asterisk. She saw a story shaped by control. Asterisk. A narrative polished until it reflected nothing but success. Asterisk. She didn't dig for scandal. She dug for context. And when she found the discrepancy, she waited, not to ambush, to confirm, to cross-check, to understand why it existed. The answer wasn't malice. It was fear. Asterisk. And fear, Jasmine knew, was most dangerous when wrapped in authority. Asterisk. Tonight wasn't about exposing Kane. Asterisk. It was about inviting him to step out from behind the version of himself that had kept him safe. That was the risk, because if he refused, the world would see it. Asterisk, and if he accepted, the moment would be bigger than both of them. Asterisk back in the studio. Jasmine sits calmly. She isn't nervous. She isn't triumphant. She's focused because she knows something the audience doesn't yet. Asterisk, once truth enters the room, it doesn't leave quietly. Asterisk waits. Asterisk, and the document in her hand isn't a weapon. Asterisk, it's a mirror. Asterisk, asterisk. The studio clock ticks, not loudly, but noticeably. Asterisk. Kash Patel crosses one leg over the other, then uncrosses it. A small tell, only visible when the camera lingers too long. Greater than Kash asterisk. I'm still unclear what this line of questioning is meant to achieve. His tone is calm, polite, but it carries an edge now. Asterisk. Jasmine nods, acknowledging the concern. Greater than Jasmine. Clarity. She lets the word settle. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Because when leaders speak about fairness, people assume their path was straight. Kash smiles again. This one is practice. Greater than Kash. No one's path is straight. Jasmine. Agreed. A beat. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Yours just seems selectively described. The audience reacts, not gasps. Asterisk. Something softer. Recognition. Kash leans forward now, engaged. Alert. Greater than Kash asterisk. Are you suggesting I misled the public? Jasmine doesn't answer immediately. She looks at him. Asterisk. Really looks. Greater than Jasmine. I'm suggesting the public doesn't know the full story. Asterisk. Kash exhales. Control but heavier than before. Asterisk. Greater than Kash asterisk. I've never hidden my background. Jasmine reaches down. She lifts the document, not toward the camera, just enough for Kash to see it. Asterisk. His eyes flicker, just once. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Then help us understand. This. Kash doesn't touch it. Greater than Kash asterisk. Appears to be a private family record. Jasmine. It's a public filing. Silence stretches. The host shifts again, unsure whether to intervene. Kash glances briefly toward the moderator. A reflex. Then back to Jasmine. Greater than Kash asterisk. Context matters. Jasmine asterisk. That's why I'm asking for it. The audience leans in. Kash's jaw tightens. Asterisk. His voice remains steady, but something underneath is accelerating. Asterisk. Greater than Kash asterisk. You're framing this as deception. Jasmine asterisk. No. She shakes her head gently. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. I'm framing it as adaptation. That word again. Adaptation. Kash blinks. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. An adaptation, when it's forced, leaves marks. She turns to the camera briefly. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Many people watching tonight recognize this. They change parts of themselves to fit rooms they weren't built for. Back to Kash. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. The difference is, they weren't in positions of national influence. The temperature drops. Kash sits back. Greater than Kash. So what exactly do you want me to say? There it is. Not defiance. Fatigue. Jasmine answers immediately. Asterisk. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. I want you to say what you've never been asked to say. Kash laughs softly. Once. It doesn't reach his eyes. Greater than Kash asterisk. And if I don't? Jasmine doesn't threaten. Doesn't warn. Asterisk. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Then the silence. We'll speak for you. The audience feels it. The control room goes still. Asterisk. Kash looks down at the document again. This time longer. He swallows. Asterisk. The man who dominates rooms realizes something crucial. He is not being attacked. Is being waited out. Asterisk. And waiting is a pressure. He was never trained to survive. Asterisk. 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 The studio no longer feels like a studio. It feels like a pause between decisions. Kash Patel studies the document in Jasmine's hand. He does not ask for it. He does not refuse. He knows what it contains. Jasmine speaks first, not to corner him, to steady the moment. Asterisk greater than Jasmine asterisk. For clarity, this record predates your public career. She turns one page. The sound is sharp in the silence. Greater than Jasmine. It lists a different family surname, a different place of origin, and a change made years later. She looks up. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Before the world knew your name. Kane nods slowly. Once. Greater than Kane, that was a long time ago. Jasmine. For paperwork. Yes. A beat. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. For identity. Not always. The audience is completely still now. No murmurs, no phones. Kane inhales. This time, it's deeper. Greater than Kane asterisk. My parents made decisions they believed were necessary. His voice is steady, but stripped of Polish dot asterisk. Greater than K&A. They wanted safety, opportunity. Jasmine listens, doesn't interrupt. Greater than Jasmine. Did you want it? The question is simple. That's what makes it dangerous. Asterisk. Kane doesn't answer immediately. He looks past Jasmine, past the cameras, at something older. Greater than Kane asterisk. I didn't question it. A few audience members exhale. They didn't realize they were holding breath. Asterisk greater than Kane asterisk. When you grow up knowing the rules weren't written for you, you learn to adapt. Jasmine nods. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. And adaptation worked. Greater than Kane, yes. Jasmine asterisk. Until tonight. That lands. Kane smiles faintly. Asterisk nod. Defensive. Resigned. Greater than Kane asterisk. You could have framed this as a scandal. Jasmine. I'm not interested in scandal. She gestures gently toward him. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. I'm interested in what it costs to disappear parts of yourself to belong. Asterisk. The audience feels that line deeply. Kane's shoulders drop slightly. Asterisk nod. In defeat. In relief. Greater than Kane asterisk. It costs you silence. Asterisk Jasmine. Doesn't respond. Asterisk she. Lets him continue. Greater than Kane. It costs you the right to be complicated. He swallows. Greater than Kane asterisk. And eventually, it costs you the ability to speak honestly without fear of undoing everything you built. Asterisk a long pause. The host does not interrupt. Producers do not cut. Everyone understands. This is the moment. Asterisk greater than Jasmine asterisk. So let me ask you the question one last time. She leans in, not aggressively, intentionally. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Who were you before the version of you the world knows? Kane closes his eyes. Just for a second. When he opens them, something has shifted. Greater than Kane asterisk. I was a kid who learned early that being unseen felt safer than being misunderstood. The audience reacts. Not applause. Something quieter. Recognition. Asterisk greater than Kane asterisk. And I spent my life mistaking safety for strength. Jasmine nods. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. Many people do. She glances briefly at the camera. Greater than Jasmine asterisk. The difference is, most aren't asked to confront it live. Kane exhales. A real one. Asterisk greater than Kane asterisk. You're right. He looks at her directly now. Greater than K-A-N. I controlled my story because I was afraid of losing authority. A beak. Greater than Kane asterisk. Tonight, I realize authority doesn't survive fear. Silence. Then, something unexpected. Asterisk a we. Single clap. Asterisk someone in the audience stops. Themselves. It spreads. Not loudly. Respectfully. Jasmine. Doesn't smile. She simply nods. Because the exposure wasn't about revealing documents. Asterisk. It was about revealing a human being. Asterisk. And the power in the room has already changed. Asterisk asterisk. Broadcast ends. Asterisk, the red light shuts. Off. But the moment does not. Within seconds. Clips fracture across screens. Asterisk, short videos. Captions stripped of context. Pauses replayed more than answers. In dorm rooms, students stop mid-conversation. Asterisk, phones glow. Volume up. In small kitchens, families stand instead of sit. Someone whispers, "He said it." Asterisk, comment sections. Ignite. Some call it bravery. Others call it betrayal. Supporters rush to defend Kane. Critics sharpen language they've been waiting to use. But something is different this time. No one can agree on the villain. The moment resists it. On one screen, Kane's line loops. Asterisk, I mistook safety for strength. Asterisk, people pause on that sentence. Asterisk, immigrants hear their parents in it. Asterisk, professionals hear themselves in it. Asterisk, even critics hear a truth they weren't prepared to dismiss. Newsrooms scramble. Headlines clash. Some focus on the records. Others focus on the confession. Asterisk, a few understand. The story is neither. It's the silence before the answer. In Kane's office later that night, advisors argue. Asterisk, why didn't you shut it down? Asterisk, we could have ended the interview. Asterisk, you gave them too much. Kane listens. He says nothing. Asterisk, for the first time in years, he doesn't correct anyone because something heavier than backlash has settled in. Relief. Asterisk, across the city. Jasmine sits alone in her apartment. Asterisk, shoes off. Jacket folded neatly. Asterisk, she doesn't check social media. She already knows what it's doing. Her phone buzzes. Anyway, messages from journalists. From editors. Asterisk, from people she hasn't heard from in years. One message stands out. Single sentence from an unknown number. Asterisk, thank you for letting him be human without destroying him. Asterisk, Jasmine exhales. That was the line she walked. And she knows how rare it is to stay on it. Asterisk, back online. The debate sharpens. Asterisk, some say Kane was exposed. Others say he was freed. Some accuse Jasmine of manipulation. Asterisk, others praise her restraint. Asterisk, but the loudest reactions aren't public. They're private. A young man deletes a draft where he'd shorten his last name. Asterisk, a woman decides not to hide her accent in tomorrow's meeting. Asterisk, a father tells his daughter the real story for the first time. Asterisk, none of this trends, but it lasts. Late that night, Kane watches the interview again. Asterisk, not the full thing. Asterisk, just a moment before he answered. The pause. He sees something he's avoided his whole life. Asterisk, not weakness, choice. And he understands something uncomfortable. Asterisk, he could have chosen differently years ago. Asterisk, he just didn't think he was allowed to. Asterisk, the next morning, the country wakes up split but quieter. Asterisk, no outrage cycle fully sticks. No villain fully forms, because the moment refused to resolve cleanly. Asterisk, and unresolved truths have a way of lingering, waiting for the next conversation. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. The studio is empty now. Asterisk, chairs pushed in, lights off. But the resonance of the interview lingers like a pulse. Asterisk, Jasmine does not celebrate. Asterisk, she does not smile. Asterisk, she only folds the document slowly, deliberately. Greater than Jasmine. Voiceover. Truth isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a question. Asterisk, sometimes it's the space to answer it. She pauses. Greater than Jasmine, leadership isn't authority over others. It's authority over your own narrative. Asterisk, it's understanding who you are fully before the world defines you. Asterisk, cut to Kash Patel alone in his office. He stares at a photo of his younger self, the child who adapted to survive. Asterisk, the man who adapted to lead. Greater than Cain, softly. Asterisk, authority doesn't survive fear. It survives truth. Asterisk across homes. Viewers reflect. Young people nod to themselves. Immigrant. Families exhale in recognition. Asterisk. Some even cry. Quietly. Asterisk, because they see themselves in this moment. Not the story that was told. The story that was lived. Asterisk greater than Jasmine. Voiceover. We grow by asking questions we fear. Asterisk. By giving room for answers we didn't expect. Asterisk by choosing dignity over pretense and courage over silence. The camera pulls back. The city skyline at night. Lights flickering. People moving. Life going on. Greater than Jasmine voiceover. Asterisk. Tonight wasn't about exposing anyone. Asterisk. It was about remembering what it means to be whole. Asterisk to honor your past. Even the parts you were told to hide. Cain places the document in the drawer. He does not close it forcefully. He does not hide it. He simply allows it to exist. Like a quiet truth finally recognized. Asterisk greater than Jasmine voiceover. And that is power. Not the power to dominate, but the power to accept. Asterisk, the power to be human. Asterisk, the camera lingers on the empty desk. The folded document in the quiet city outside the studio window. Then fades to black. A single line appears. Asterisk. Sometimes the hardest conversations are the ones that make us free. Asterisk, 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 the screen fades in from black. Asterisk, Jasmine's voice is calm, confident, steady. Jasmine. One question changed everything tonight. Asterisk, one pause revealed more than hours of speeches ever could. Asterisk, cut to quick clips. Cain's moment of pause. Audience reactions. Viewers watching at home. Jasmine. This wasn't about scandal. Asterisk. It was about truth. About courage. About finally letting the whole story exist in the open. Asterisk text overlay. Dignity over pretense. Courage over silence. Jasmine. Everyone watching has a story. Everyone carries parts of themselves they hide. Asterisk tonight is a reminder. Owning your past is the first step toward real strength. Soft music rises. Clips show people nodding, journaling, talking quietly with loved ones. Asterisk, the ripple effect is visual. Human, real, greater than Jasmine. So take a moment. Ask the questions that matter. Speak the truths you've kept. And don't wait for permission to be seen. The camera pans back to the empty studio desk. Document folded neatly. Lights dimmed. Greater than Jasmine. If this story resonated with you, share it. Talk about it. Let it spark your own courage. Asterisk, because every truth told builds the next. Final text on screen. Stand tall. Speak your story. Be unapologetically whole. Fade out. Music lingers for a beat longer. Then silence. Asterisk, the audience is left thinking, reflecting, inspired. Asterisk, asterisk.